there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Bitcoin is punk rock. Deal with it.
You split, we bankrupt you.
Do you use Lightning wallets to pay for things or not?
No.
Bitcoin Cash would be seen as more of a threat to the United States hegemony than Bitcoin.
Miles Town, what's your favorite kind of money?
Bitcoin Cash.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 51, 1,000 subscribers and mainstream inflation. Today is Thursday, the 23rd of June, 2022. I'm your host, Jeremy, and Jett is doing the producing and commentary as well today. I know we have some subscribers that like the no guest episodes, and it's been a while. So we definitely need to catch up a few different things in the crypto ecosystem. So our first topic today is straight into it with a huge shout out to the community, basically, because Ryan Giffen at Phoenix Crypto and a couple of other people just sort of took it upon themselves to hype the podcast because it was nearly at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it got us over the line. I think we've now got 1,013 subscribers or something like that, and that's been a goal of mine for a massive amount of time. I actually set in February 26, 2021. When we were at 100 subscribers, I set myself a goal to hit 1,000, and so I set a screenshot of that as my phone lock screen background. So I've been looking at that now for 14 months, basically, or 16 months, no, 14 months. And we hit it, and it was just great to see that. Firstly, to pass that milestone, because it's pretty important on YouTube, because that's when you can monetize your videos, and not like I think I am going to monetize my videos, but I don't want to spam the hell out of people. I don't really care about ads, just use ad block. But the monetizing is a big thing, because then it means YouTube spreads your videos around more, because they can make money on ads. Whereas when you're a small channel and you don't have ads, it doesn't matter as much to them, even if people are watching a lot of your content. So hopefully that should help the channel to grow a bit. But I was looking at the stats, and so in the last 28 days, we've got 2.2 thousand views on YouTube, or 584 hours of the podcast watched, which is 20.85 hours. So I was just blown away looking at that, because if you and I sat in this chair and just talked about crypto nonstop, 21 hours a day, and then had 3 hours sleep, and then did it again all day, every day, that's how big the channel is right now. That's amazing, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because this is I listen to this crypto podcast, obviously, right? I'm here all the time. But aside from this, I don't think I have the patience to listen to a podcast. So the fact that so many people are hopping on board is kind of nice. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. And I mean, the funny thing is, as the podcast grows, and this was sort of part of my strategy, I guess, in starting it, is that it's the same for us, right? We do a 2-hour show or whatever. We make the slides, we do the show, we get a guest lined up, and then that's it. And then that scales to whether we have 1 listener or 10 listeners or 100 listeners, or hopefully eventually, 1 million listeners, right? And that's kind of how the Bitcoin Cash community needs to attack things, I think, because we're one of the smaller crypto communities, but even crypto is small in the world, right? So wherever possible, we've got to be looking at things that we can asymmetrically win on, pretty much. And obviously the internet is a huge proponent of things like that. So that's been, it's just been incredible. So the audio downloads are also at all-time highs. So we've had 739 downloads in the last 28 days as of yesterday, which is more than 26 per day, which again is just nuts, because it's crazy for me to think if I go out to a crypto meetup or something, I talk to 4 or 5 people, or maybe different groups, right? And over a couple of hours, you can only have 5 or 6 good conversations max. And so 26 people every single day listening to this show, thinking about Bitcoin Cash, maybe getting inspired, learning something new, or finding a new opportunity. Somebody's on the podcast who they can reach out to and connect with, or something. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's absolutely crazy. And I said in the Twitter comment about this that it has changed my life, and it has changed my life, just in the sense that we're on a mission here, and now I'm not just sitting at work, just getting through to the end of the day. I actually like my job. I actually have a pretty good job, but even still, I finish work and I'm like, damn, time for some Bitcoin Cash podcast slides, time for some more research of what's going on. And yeah, it's really focused me in a lot, having a goal and a target to work on, like the subscriber count, right? And I also want to say as well too, for all the listeners, that obviously I'm the most prominent or publicly known part of it, but Jett also does a massive amount of work on every single episode. Everyone knows that, but I also want to give a shout out to the other contributors to the podcast: Shant, who does the BCH Clips channel, Luis, who does the thumbnails for the YouTube and Odyssey videos and everything like that, Omar, who does the timestamps, and Korg, who's been working on some of the Spanish translations as well too. Huge shout out to them, and yeah, they definitely should get their moment of recognition too as well. If you listen to this show, they're doing great work as well too. So I guess teamwork makes the dream work. And of course the guests, right? The show wouldn't be what it is, although we do no guest episodes sometimes and scatter them around, but all the guests we have are fantastic, and definitely I've seen people talking about one of the things they like about the show is the variety that we have on. Sometimes it's merchant adopting people, sometimes it's Bitcoin OGs, sometimes it's new people, sometimes it's devs, sometimes it's just casual fans, sometimes it's we would probably have a bit more of like crypto critics and stuff on. Hasn't been so much that maybe we can mix. I mean, it is the Bitcoin Cash show, so we're not going to just have somebody talking shit on us every week, but maybe we could have a bit more of that. Obviously, we've had some BTC maxis, had different people from different coins, the community, all kinds of things. So I definitely think we'll be maintaining that mix going forward, because everybody does seem to enjoy that. And of course, now that we've hit 1,000, well, that was it. The next goal, 10,000 orders of 10, orders of magnitude. So gonna be working hard to hit that. It's kind of my idea that if we could get the podcast to 1 million subscribers, that BCH would pretty much start flipping the world at about that point, I think, right? Because like Pomp right now, he's got 1 million subscribers and he's shilling a coin that nobody even can pay anyone with, right? So we had a channel as big and as well known as that, which represented genuinely 1 million people that were interested in Bitcoin Cash and maybe trading it and whatever. That's a bigger economy than like some countries, right?
Yeah.
So I think it would snowball from there pretty fast. So yeah, anyway, I guess we'll see how we do about getting to that 10,000. Took 14 months to do 100 to 1,000. So I don't know, 14 months might be a little fast to get to 10,000, but we'll see how it goes.
So what is that?
All right, that's I don't know. We have to add. Let's just get out the calculator. We can just add it up here. So we got to get 9,000. We got 14 months. So let's just say on average 30 days in a month, right? So 30 times 14 is 420 days, and obviously we got to get 9,000 extra subscribers. What did I just say? 420. So that's 21 subscribers a day. That's a lot. That is a fucking lot. but
we can make
I guess
that
it's
happen.
doable.
Yeah.
Yeah. On average, right? Once you've already, the more, and that's the thing about any of these things, it's exponential, right? The more people you have subscribing and listening. And I was also thinking too, like Spotify and all these different podcast apps, as the podcast grows, it will get recommended to more people, and it will also just show up more if people searching Bitcoin Cash. Or surely, if there's a point where it can get big enough, we're probably a long way from this, but where if you just search Bitcoin, it comes up in the top 3 or 5 results or whatever. Then that you would just start passively just drawing in so many people. What's this all about? Right? Maybe they listen to some of the show and they just think, oh yeah, this is sick. All right, that's the good news. The bad news is CoinFlex have just published an emergency announcement. So I'm going to read what they posted just a couple minutes before this show went live. Quote, "Dear CoinFlex community, due to extreme market conditions last week and continued uncertainty involving a counterparty, today we are announcing that we are pausing all withdrawals. We fully expect to resume withdrawals in a better position as soon as possible. We will fully communicate with you as we find out more. We will also be halting all flex coin coin trading in perps and spot in the short term. To confirm, the counterparty is not Three Arrows Capital or any lending firm. We are confident that this situation can be repaired fully with a restoration of all functionality, namely withdrawals. Timeline, next update, June 27th, 2022, so in 4 days. Estimated time for withdrawals, June 30th, 2022. Please note that these dates are estimates based on our current understanding of the situation. We'll give more clarity on the details and updates to the situation as soon as possible. Mark Lamb, CEO," end quote. So, I mean, this is, you hate to see it, right? This is never, ever good news, but obviously crypto has been in a bad spot with things melting down left, right, and center. You had Luna going bust. You had Celsius basically rugging everyone. You've now had Three Arrows Capital. They're pretty much done with whatever speculating they were doing. All kinds of people. Tether has been redeeming more and more money. They haven't announced any problems yet, but it's only a matter of time. And you hate to see CoinFlex joining that list, right? The pessimistic take is, holy shit, it's all over. CoinFlex is finished. They're just the next ones to go bust. I'm not that pessimistic. I mean, Mark Lamb's been a pretty trustworthy guy, and I mean that's what everyone would say in one of these situations, but more so than a lot of these other shady operators, at least in my mind. He's a well-known guy. He's been around for a long time, and he's run the exchange very competently, at least up until this point. So I don't think everybody needs to get out the pitchforks immediately. I guess the optimistic take is, yeah, I mean, he's provided a timeline when we're going to get an update. He said it's not Three Arrows Capital or any lending firm, and it seems like the Smart BCH, the BCH locked for the Smart BCH bridge, which is the sort of complicating factor as well in the specific case of CoinFlex for the BCH community. I mean, that they're all there, right? The address is known with the coins, and I'm looking at it right now, 101,382.30026.849 BCH still sitting there. It's all good. The money is fine as long as they have access to that address, which presumably they do. It hasn't moved anywhere, or let's say it was last moved March the 13th. So that was when they did the last burn, I think, as well. So there's no like cause for alarm there. So yeah, that's kind of the optimistic take. But as always, a reminder to the listeners, not your keys, not your coins. If you've got any coins on any exchange, no matter how reputable or how reliable you think they are, if you're not using them at that very second to trade or buy or whatever, you just got to take them off, because you never know who's going to be next, especially under these kind of bear market conditions and the possible knock-on effects of one thing going bust, and then they owed money to some other big player who owes it to this other player and that other player, and before you know it, here we are. What do you think, Jett?
So in this situation, like, everyone at CoinFlex is pretty known, right? So entertaining the idea that they're insolvent, which I don't think is the case, wouldn't they be liable? Like, as a user, we really don't have that many or that much reason to be concerned because, you know, XYZ like main figures are known and active in the United States, and so this is what the court systems are for. I mean, it kind of, like, I went to do a smart BCH to BCH transfer earlier today, and I realized there was no liquidity anywhere to do that. I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But I'm not, like, nervous about it, so.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly would be surprised if, I mean, whatever issues there are, I can more easily see someone like Mark Lamb being like, okay, we've got all the smart BCH, so we're giving that back to everyone. And then, you know, if there's other problems or issues, okay, whoever is taking like a haircut on that, or we're selling off some assets or whatever we're doing, you know, I can see him sort of taking a loss or working out how to make things kind of right. And not just being like, well, we've got all the money. See you guys. We've switched the website off, and like, that's it, right? Which happens in some of these other cases. I don't know. Actually, have Celsius re-enabled withdrawals? They haven't, right?
I have no idea.
Still, well, that's. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest points about this that obviously Mark knows is he's given a hard timeline that, okay, next update will be 4 days. And the timeline for withdrawals is June 30th. That's in a week, right? So, I mean, the real question is who do they owe the money to, or who do they need? Who's the counterparty? Who are they trying to get the funds off? Like the Flex USD that they do is with USDC, so that's potentially with Coinbase and Circle and all them. I can't really imagine that being the shaky part of the system. There's much bigger issues probably if it's them. I don't know. I don't really know behind the scenes who are they, because again, CoinFlex is less sketchy, so I'm less worried that they're roped into all the other shenanigans like with Tether or with Three Arrows Capital or whoever. I don't think it's any of those people, but clearly somebody that like owed them some money or something was maybe by another degree of separation, you know, like maybe they're owed some money by somebody who is owed some money by somebody who is now wrecked with all the money. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, just to iterate again, not your keys, not your coins. There's no bailouts in crypto, and the blockchain never forgets. So at the end of the day, if you've got your coins, you're going to be fine. And if you don't, well, you got no promises really. But we'll wait to see more. And truly, I wish the best for this scenario, because it would be big blow to the BCH ecosystem if the smart BCH bridge had any problems, or if the CoinFlex itself and their ecosystem ran into issues either.
Well, this
all right.
Well,
yeah, go on.
It's a good opportunity to highlight the importance of things like Shawgate, right? Like, although I did see something recently about Smart BCH changing, I didn't look too deeply into it.
Well, I think what that sort of remains to be seen as well too. Is they kind of, the original plan was to have 50% of the fees burn and 50% go to the validators, and the validators were the miners, which to me made perfect sense, and that seemed like such a cool idea and everything. But the change of plan was then that they allowed some staking in order that you could get kind of a stable token on Smart BCH, which they said was to do with they didn't get as much uptake from the miners as they thought initially, I think was part of the problem. But I don't know, maybe just the miners just weren't aware, or like it seemed weird to me that they would then switch it up and go for this proof of stake hybrid staking system. But on the other hand, they've been the ones running the system and observing it, and if they think that's the better direction, sort of gotta trust their instinct, because we're not really in a position where anybody else is going to come, even though the code is all open source. And it's true that somebody else, if they thought they had a better handle of, the miners need this incentive or that incentive, they could just fork everything and do it. But that's a mammoth task, and not like BCH is already a small enough ecosystem. You're not going to get anybody, especially with that amount of very, very deep knowledge, come in and do a different version. So I don't know. I don't really know what they're up to.
I'm not even sure. I mean, like, regardless of Shawgate, even if we just had other exchanges step up to fill the centralized entity of this, like, can we just get more ramps? Because this is certainly a choking point, and it's going to leave a bad taste in people's mouths.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when it comes to other exchanges, well, that's kind of the question, is it? It's a pick your poison type of scenario, because so far it's been all in on CoinFlex, which is obviously not ideal. And people thought, okay, but on the other hand, CoinFlex has been pretty reliable. So maybe it's better to have all your eggs in a reliable basket, as ridiculous as that sounds, than having, look, if 20% of it was in Binance and 20% of it was in Kraken and 20% of it was somewhere else, and then those exchanges started having problems because they gambled it all on Luna or something, then you might be up in shit creek in a different way, right?
I see what you're saying, yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, we want to have 100% of the coins there, and I guess the decentralized bridge is the ultimate solution, but it sort of remains to be seen yet whether that's going to get delivered. I mean, the timeline for that was August or September, so there's still plenty of time before we're looking to get an update on that. But yeah, it was all good on CoinFlex until apparently it's now not. So I don't know. What does this mean? Is more BCH going to be dumped into the market? Fired us? Well, I don't know. I assume not. Obviously, it's not a great sign for the ecosystem overall, but I can't see them selling off any BCH they do have. That doesn't really make any sense, especially as it sounds more like they're in the position where they are owed money rather than they owe someone money and they can't pay them off. Like if CoinFlex owes someone else money, then maybe they would be in the opposite position, right? They would be more likely to be deposit all your money with us, and then they try to kind of keep the scam going. But if it's in there, the position where they're like, well, we have loads of not liability, we have loads of credits, we have loads of people that owe us money, and we're asking them to pay us and they're not doing it. That seems kind of more likely the situation. So if they've paused withdrawals, it's likely they don't have the BCH to sell off. Speaking of which, somebody was posting about on Reddit, they found these huge buy walls of 10K BCH that somebody was putting in at $115 USD on loads of exchanges. They had like 5 or 6 exchanges, screenshots of just, there's usually the buy and the sells are roughly equal, right? And then they tail off in liquidity as it gets further away from the current market price. But instead, somebody just had this huge 10,000 BCH worth of buys sitting on all these exchanges, but they weren't moving it up or whatever. And just anybody, you couldn't sell BCH below that price, but there was also not a lot of sellers, so they couldn't just buy, because otherwise they would have rocketed the price up. So it's really remained to be seen what was going on there too. There was not really a good explanation for that either.
Would it even be smart if there was like, I was thinking like, what would be the incentive? And maybe it's some kind of defensive trading, but then someone has the opportunity to liquidate on you, right? Or like, do you like?
Well, what I figured it was if you want to buy a huge amount of BCH, which you should probably be trying to do off the public markets in the first place. If you are trying to buy 100 million or whatever, you probably want to get in the whale circles and be talking to the big miners and whoever and figuring that out. But if you wanted to do it on the public markets, well, usually the way a lot of the exchanges work is there's like the maker and the taker side of the trade, right? So if you put in a buy order and then somebody sells into your order, then the seller pays the fee and the buyer gets kind of rewarded because they were providing liquidity to the exchange, sitting their money there and just waiting, hoping that somebody would sell into them, right? And the same selling, if you put a sell order and then somebody sells into you, it's the person selling into you who. So basically, if you're trading, if you're market trading, if you're market buying or market selling, then you're paying extra fees. Whereas if you're limit buying or selling, you're getting it for free, basically, because instead you're putting up the opportunity cost of that capital. So in that scenario, if you were going to buying 100 million, it kind of makes sense to me that maybe those fees really, really add up, and you're also at risk of heavily moving the markets by doing big buys or sells. But I guess you could just split it up into smaller chunks and do it a chunk at a time. Putting this huge buys in, I don't know, didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But
do you think it's noise, or do you think it's a legitimate signal? Because it appears at surface value to be a legitimate signal because of the cost.
Yeah, well, I guess if you've got that kind of money to be, putting up these huge buys, but the analysis wasn't very detailed either, though, that I read on. It was kind of like, look, here's these buy walls, but it wasn't really explained how long were they there for. There was kind of screenshots of the 5 exchanges, but was it all 5 at once, or was it okay? They had it on one exchange and then they moved it over to another one and another one and another one. Complete, or they, there was a 1-day break between them, or they had 2 that they were bouncing back and forth. There's so many unanswered questions about that. So yeah, really, really hard to say. I didn't see anybody who had a convincing answer in the Reddit analysis. Some people had this theory that one of the top wallets on BTH had basically its amount of BTH had just plummeted down kind of recently or something, and they had the theory that somebody had borrowed money from whoever that was and was trying to short BCH on some of these exchanges, but basically wasn't working. I don't even know if that really makes sense. So yeah, nothing. I don't know. It remains to be seen, but we haven't seen a huge change in the BCH price, which is the next thing anyway. I've put on the slide, collapsing bear market levels out temporarily. So BCH is $115. One BTC buys 176 BCH, same ratio as last episode.
Wait,
But,
hold on a second. What was the floor that you said the price was?
Well, it was like 115. That's right. It was
this
about
is
this
unfortunate.
price.
I need it to be like $99. I'm trying to win a bet here.
What's your bet?
Max, I feel bad. Because, anyway, Max and I had a bet a while ago where it was like we would dip below 115 for 0.05 BCH. Won that. And then he's like, how about this? In 1 month's time, if it dips below $100, we'll do another 0.05. And if it does dip, I win that. If it doesn't, he wins. He gets his money back. Or
maybe it's him. Maybe he's scrounged around, found his spare 100 million, and he's like, look, let me just put buy walls on all the exchanges to make sure I don't lose that bet.
We were talking to, this is kind of tangential, but this is definitely one of those someone command type situations where I think it'd be awesome to have a website betting on the price of cryptocurrency. And I know that's just
isn't that every exchange? What?
Well, yeah, but it's like, so imagine this is like stupid second layer gambling on gambling, but like, okay, you can put up BCH and say like within X amount of time, BCH will either pass this price point or drop below this price point, and they'll have pools on either side. It's just like puts or options or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, and then each side has a
I think
pool.
you're just describing the financial
Yeah.
markets. If you want,
Yeah.
want to make that bet, if you, let's say, right, the price now is 115. If you think it's going to go down to under 100 in the next month, you can go on any exchange. You can borrow the BCH. You can short it. You just sell it. You take your USD. You sit on it for 1 month, and if the price goes down under 100, you put in a market buy order. You buy back, and then you've obviously profited the difference, and then you hand them back the BCH and your things. That's exactly what that option is available for you at any time in any quantity up to billions of dollars on any exchange.
No,
I understand it's not simplified like that.
Yeah, I want this to be in non-custodial escrows with like, you know, that whole trustless situation, and you don't have to deal with well, you kind of have to deal with a third party, but it's not necessarily a person. Like that part would be audited and all that shit. So,
well, I think that stuff is coming. I mean, we've talked about Any Hedge a bunch on this show before. That's essentially what that is, as well as like predictions markets, which is again a little bit more speculative. We're talking probably a couple of years away. We'd probably need one more hard fork upgrade to get a bit more of the beef into the programming power, and then after that, time for people to actually build and develop these solutions. But that's the idea, right? The predictions market, you could do something like that.
Yeah.
Will whoever win the 2024 elections, will the price of X be higher or lower than this by this date? You know, would be no problem as well too, right? So it's coming soon. 18 months.
I think I might have mentioned this on a much earlier podcast episode, but like when my first couple months into cryptocurrency, there was like a bet in a Facebook group on when John McCain would die, and
John McAfee or John?
No, John
John
McCain.
McCain.
Yeah.
Is he dead now? I honestly don't know. That's probably pretty disrespectful, but
it was very, but he's also,
it was a close thing. Okay.
he's also like a very pro-war. He's got a daughter who's still like, maybe I'm pretty sure I have the name right. Anyway, this isn't important. More of those bets where everyone's just pooling cryptocurrency rather than like dealing with the ins and outs of fiat. It's just like you have a pool and you have your bets without any of the traditional, like one of the benefits of the censorship resistance is that you can make bets on stupid things like,
yeah.
Now
with a global audience at low friction as well too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Now this does get down a dark road when you have like very wealthy people doing it, because it is essentially like a hit on someone, right? Like,
yeah.
So that'd be a good movie idea, but let's leave it at that. Don't bring it into the real world.
Yeah, exactly. About the price though, things have sort of leveled off a bit overall in crypto. At the end of last episode, we were talking about it's all melting down, it's all getting wrecked. Well, the slide has stopped, at least in the short term. For the last week or so, it's been kind of cruising sideways, and my complete speculative guess is that it might continue like that for a while longer. I do think we'll still be sort of bearish in the medium term, but it seems at least that the markets haven't got that far into despair yet, right? I haven't seen, well, obviously we're seeing more problems like with CoinFlex, for instance. So the ripples of the price crashing are reverberating around the crypto ecosystem. But on the other hand, it isn't really like people are completely finished. It doesn't feel like capitulation to me, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Do you think we'll drop below $100 in the next like 3 weeks though?
In the next 3 weeks, maybe not. In the next 2 months or 3 months, probably. Complete guess, but No, I don't. No, trust me, I got enough. You're an addict, mate. You need some help. What's going on?
I'm bored.
You're bored. All right. Well, I don't know. Find a Gamblers Anonymous. Go along to that.
I'm not
and
on
just-
any exchanges. This is how I earn my BCH now.
Well, if anybody wants to gamble with Jett about the price of BCH, you know where to find him. Send him a Twitter DM. I recuse all full responsibility for any activity that goes on in that regard. You caveat emptor. But also it's a free market, so do whatever you want. All right. We got the transactions. Still steady-ish at about 40k, 42k. You're getting bored about the markets. Well, I'm getting a bit bored about these transactions. When are we going to see some of these apps come out? I've been pretty patient the last 6 months, 12 months, yet people are working on apps, and I know they are, right? Obviously, Kim.com hyped his stuff, failed to deliver it, kind of hyped it again. We've had various people on this show. Oh, there's stuff going on in the background. There's this app, there's that app. It's going to be sick. Where are they? Come on, guys. Let's get some teasers rolling, or let's get some beta versions out, or let's see something. It's kind of weird that we get these spikes every once in a while with people testing things, and yet the actual announcements or whatever is kind of missing, right? Is there's a bit of a noticeable void, right?
Yeah, for sure. And also, just we have test chains. Like, I know.
Yeah, okay.
There's
Maybe people are on
argument.
the test chain.
Well, no. I'm saying, like, why are we testing on the main chain? And I know there's argument as to why we would test on the main chain, but like, we're just like, this is like a little tease, and I don't like it. Where are the apps? It's like that developers thing for Microsoft, but we need apps.
developers. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's not me. I'm not rolling out any apps or anything, so I can't be too harsh about where is everybody's apps. But it just feels like it could be a cool time to release, because when we get people on the show, right, they're talking about, okay, we're gonna have this or that app coming out. It sounds great. I'm always partially skeptical, and the reason is because engineers can spend a lot of time and build something that nobody really wants, thinking it's the bee's knees, and then by the time you've got it all perfect, well, either you don't and it just sort of wanders away into nothing, or you finally get it all perfect, you do a grand release, and it turns out people are just kind of a bit lukewarm on it. You kind of want to do the opposite. You want to release something that barely works and is a complete piece of crap, but if people are still loving it and all just jumping in there, this is amazing, then that's a good problem to have. You've hit on something good. Like the first episode of this podcast freaking sucked. It was terrible, but it still, already people were like, there's something here, and then that's how you know to keep going with it. The worst is you spend a year or two making something, and then at the end, seems like nobody really, maybe people are doing internal testing, maybe, but the ultimate test is just the free market. So I would love to see more of that. Okay, and next thing as well too, then, was we've got the cent in USD, which has spiked, supporting capitulation. So I was very glad to see this, because on the last episode I was pointing out that this hadn't spiked, and that's how I knew that we were still in for some more pain. And of course we were in for some more pain. Now it has spiked. So I want to clarify that I don't think this is not the smoking gun that, okay, that's it, we're over, we're not going any lower. But you do need to see this rise in cent in USD as the chain, people start sending their money around everywhere. It wasn't quite, I guess there was this other all-time high, but in the last year, am I reading this right? January? No, not even in the last year. It was like a local peak of nearly 200 billion cent in BTC. And BCH has actually been fluctuating a good amount too. You just can't see it unless we have it on the log scale. But clearly, as people are melting down. 3 Arrows Capital is going bust. Michael Saylor is getting a little bit nervous as these things are going on. Well, a lot of Bitcoin got moved around. So that could be one signal that, okay, maybe we're not necessarily at the absolute bottom, but we are getting a bit closer. Because if the Sending USD was not spiking up, if people weren't getting a bit frenzied, then there's still further to fall, basically. So yeah, it was kind of good to see that confirmatory signal was there, that the market is realizing that we're in bad shape at the moment. Okay, on to the actual news, and this is not even a crypto news story, although it's also always a crypto news story, which is that inflation is dominating mainstream news, right? So in the UK right now, official inflation or whatever is over 9%. Rishi Sunak, who is the finance bigwig, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, he said that he has it all under control and it's fine. Of course he doesn't. That's a complete lie, but that's what he's out there saying. And all the trains are shut down. There's been national rail strikes, which have been prompted basically by cost of living problems and pay increases. So the rail workers want to get paid more because they can see that their cost of living is going up and they're getting squeezed really hard. And so they've organized this strike, and that's caused a bunch of problems. And then you have, at the same time, I've got a headline here from Bloomberg UK. Brexit's legacy is hotter UK inflation risk for years ahead. And Brexit is a key reason why investors are still avoiding the UK. This is nonsense. Like, everything is going to get blamed for inflation besides the government just printing out money, right? The one real reason is going to be nowhere to be found. It's going to be like, where's Wally? It's not going to be there. But every other possible angle is going to get blamed. And the White House, we're also trying to get in on it. So in the US, this same problem is happening. And of course, they've got their own culprit that they're trying to blame. So we've got a tweet here from the White House with the biggest single driver of inflation being Putin's war against Ukraine. At POTUS has taken action to blunt the impact of Putin's price hike for families. So Vladimir is getting blamed in the US. Brexit and the rail workers are getting, well, the rail workers are the ones feeling the brunt of it, but Brexit is getting blamed in the UK. Everyone is getting blamed except for the source of the actual problem. And it seems to me like people are gonna wake up, right? You can fool some of the people some of the time, right? You can't fool all the people all the time. And as people end up in more and more desperate economic straits, eventually they see through the lies by the government, that it's not that the government is trying to fix us all from this big scary problem. It's that the government is the problem. Eventually they get the message, right? So I don't know if we're super close to that, but certainly the fact is everyone in the world seems to be aware of inflation. You can just, maybe the average person is not the biggest Bitcoin fanatic just yet, but if you talk to them inflation, they're aware about it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Can you elaborate on, like, do you understand this Putin's price hike bullshit? Like, what? I don't understand what that has to do, because we saw the inflation before the US even got involved, right? Or at least like publicly involved. It's just like mainstream now.
Yeah, well, it's obviously it's not it's not a complete lie, in the sense that probably the situation in Ukraine and disruptions to the economy because of Russia being more sort of protectionist and less willing to trade with everyone else, and all this money and attention going on to fighting in Ukraine. Okay, that probably has some effect in inflation, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a drop in the bucket. But it's just a convenient thing to blame it on, I think, which is, okay, apparently Russia are the bad guys, and apparently them, their oil markets are the cause of rising costs in the US. And that's not really the case at all, because there's a million other factors that are involved. It's not like Russia has the up and down switch on the US economy that they could just, because if they could just switch off the US economy or wreck them, they would do it. They would have done it tons of times in the past. It's not some new thing that they've magically acquired. It's just the US government have to blame someone. They can't say, oh guys, we've printed trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in an unsustainable fractional reserve fiat-based system, and it's now all starting to blow up, and you're paying the price. They can't come out and say that. So they got to have some excuse, and it seems like Putin's the bad guy of the day, right? So
I wonder what the prevailing Canadian narrative is, because like as soon as the disruptions were mentioned, I'm like, okay, well, we already produce our own oil, and the rest of our oil comes from like Saudi Arabia. So I don't think we're dealing with Russia for that. And then I was, okay, so what does Russia and Ukraine export primarily? Wheat, right?
Wheat, yeah.
Well, Canada also produces 12% of the world's wheat. So what in the hell? Why are my grocery prices going up?
Anti-vaxxers, mate.
Yeah,
they're gonna be the bad guy. All these, I don't know,
domestic terrorists.
Yeah, well, if the domestic terrorists are blowing up stuff, if they're blockading the center of the city or whatever.
Have you seen, I don't know, this is like maybe edging around conspiracy territory, but have you seen there's a bunch of farms and agricultural places in the US that are all just strangely burning down?
I've been hearing about this. I've heard a couple of people reference this, but I haven't looked into it myself, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'll send you the
I
link later. It's interesting that hasn't been brought up at all, though.
Yeah, well, of course it wouldn't be. I mean, well, the thing is, places burning down or not, with those kind of things, I often feel like, okay, maybe there's a scenario where a couple of places did burn down over the last 10 years and somebody's just stitched together a montage of,
this is like 80 in the past 4 years or some shit like that.
Is that confirmed though? Like what?
Here, let me.
All right, we're gonna have to look into this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, somebody with better research skills than me. But one thing I just want to hit on with this before we move off the whole inflation story, though, is that people should be obviously listening to this show are obviously quite well aware of it. It's been a theme, and you can at least know that, okay, the government's just printing tons of money, and that's why it's a disaster. It's not Putin, it's not Brexit, it's not the rail workers, the bad guys, or the whoever gets blamed by the government. That's nothing to do with it. Well, not nothing to do with it, but it's downstream effects, right? It's the secondary causes, that's the symptoms maybe, but the cause of the disease is the government just printing money. But this is a good thing to do if you're trying to talk to people about crypto. This is often how I explain it. If I'm talking to people and I have to tell them something about crypto, they're asking about crypto, I usually start with, okay, so there's inflation, right? The price of goods and services is going up. And people always start that saying, yeah, I know about that. I've seen that happen here and here. And now it's very, very pertinent on people's mind. But even before that, you could still say, oh, well, back when your grandmother went to the cinemas, it cost her 20 cents and now it costs you $20, right? People are familiar with that concept. So you start with that and you say, well, the reason for that is because there's a supply and demand, and the government that prints more supply. They print more and more money, but they're the ones who get the money first. So your money is devaluing and so is theirs, but they're able to just top it up with fresh money all the time. And that's basically stealing away the money that you've worked hard to earn. And if you're in a good financial position, you have assets and whatever other stuff that protects you from it. But if you're just a regular person, or even if you're quite a regular person, but you're quite financially savvy and stuff, you're still just getting constantly wrecked by this stuff. And then you say, okay, so then that's why there was kind of the idea of we needed a inflation resistant form of money, which was Bitcoin. And then you say about, okay, that was invented by Satoshi. And then you explain, okay, scarcity is one of the properties of money, but you also need fungibility and durability and portability, divisibility, recognizability. And you explain a bit about that. And then you kind of get on to, and then in 2017, it split into two because half of the community wanted to turn into investment captured by the banks, which is exactly what happened. And everybody also understands that too, because a lot of them are like, yeah, I've heard of Bitcoin. They might even own some Bitcoin, but they can also logically see, look, people around me on the street are not trading Bitcoin. It's not happening. So, and then you say, well, that was the original version, and that was what Bitcoin Cash is now. And then you send them $1, get them to download an app, send them £1, $1, 50 cents, whatever it is, and then bam, there you go. That's that's usually how I explain it anyway. So that's a tactic people can try if they in this situation of needing to explain crypto. But usually you kind of got to start at the start with inflation, then Bitcoin, then the split with Bitcoin Cash, or at least that's what's been effective for me.
Real quick on the farm thing, I found some of it is cited here, some of it is not. Also, a lot of it doesn't seem to be fires. So this is since January 11th of 2021, or maybe that was just the first incident. Up until now, the first year, 2021, is all fires. There's only 10 instances, though. The other 87 instances are in 2022. A lot of them are just like on March 4th, for example, there are about 800,000, 900,000 chickens that were destroyed. It doesn't give any details about what they did to them. But yeah, in Missouri and Ireland, just separated apart. So yeah, there's a lot of farms that have been going through a bunch of different issues, but not all of them are fires. But yeah, 87 instances in 2022 of like hundreds of thousands of cattle, or in some cases, full farms burning down.
Well, I've been seeing that one that has been going around on social media with all these dead cows basically by the side of the road. Yeah. But again, that to me, it seems hard. There's just very little verification of that stuff. Like that footage could be 5 years old because of some completely unrelated thing, and just now it's the shocking clip that people are circulating around to add to this narrative. So I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely open-minded or willing to hear a strong case for any of this stuff, but yeah, I certainly haven't looked into it, so I can't really speak to it on this show.
Yeah, I saw something that was some of it where it was like, we lost pigs to COVID or something, and in that case they were composting them. It wasn't even close to thousands, right? But yeah, it's the hundreds of thousands that I'm like, what in the hell?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know any farmers. That's the real issue. I need to know. We need the contact. We need somebody on this show. We just had Nick talking about logistics. We need somebody who's in agriculture.
Yeah.
If you work in agriculture, reach out to me on the show. Let's get your take on this, because that's the other part. That's the supply chain. So the trucks are apparently going to be fine. What about the actual food? Let's hear about that, because if we're all starving, then we're really up shit creek, So this is inflation. The causes of that, all lies. Twitch ads, that's a lie. The affiliate program, complete lie. And according to the media, crypto is dead again, also a lie. We've got the Wall Street Journal said the crypto party is over. The cryptocurrency industry was built on swagger, enthusiasm, and optimism. All three are in short supply these days as losses and layoffs mount. So, I mean, that it is accurate that crypto is in a rough spot, and maybe from the outside in a bull market, everybody's like, "Ha, you idiots, we were right all along." And then when the price is going down, the kind of the accusations reverse. But to say it's over is complete nonsense. I don't know how many times do people have to hear that it's over before they realize it's never over. It's been over, because I can understand that when it was over in 2013, most people didn't even hear that it was over. And then in 2016, 2017, a lot of people still didn't hear that it was over, but a lot of people did hear that it was over. And now it's 2021 or 2021. There was more hype about it's over when the price was crashing after the all-time high. And now we're here in 2022. It's over again. It's always apparently over until 3 years later when they're writing the next round of how it's over. Eventually, people just understand that this stuff is FUD, right?
Well, it probably like makes the market kind of
Resilient?
self-perpetuating, I think. Like, oh, the party's over. That FUD goes to like normies, and they sell out a little bit, and then the whales come in and buy the dip, and then, oh, the party's back on, guys, you're missing out. And the normies come back. It's, buy high, sell low.
Yeah. I got the other article that I have linked here of this trend is cryptocurrency is a symptom of the death of the American dream. The collapse in social mobility is facilitating an age of shortcuts. Enter Bitcoin by James Bloodworth. And I just thought, come on, what's going on? It's the same as the inflation stuff, right? It's the exact opposite of the problem is getting called out as the problem is getting blamed, right? That the problem, yes, there is a problem that these days people feel like they have low social mobility, they're trapped and they're locked out of the ultra rich class or whatever. And this guy was writing his article saying, oh, the people who were in Bitcoin early made millions and now they've been showing it off and laughing at everyone. So they aren't for the common people or whatever, which is completely flipped about because the whole point of Bitcoin is that, or it should have been definitely, is it is for the grassroots and it is for people and you can just buy in and it is an organic grassroots movement, at least in spirit. But trying to say people in Bitcoin are trying to take the shortcuts to success. No, mate, it's the opposite. You're trying to take the long cut to success, which is you're going to have to deal with a decade of the media telling you it's over every 5 minutes. How is that a shortcut? Like it doesn't make sense.
Well, maybe they're that low end of the bell curve that we saw the other day where it's just like, just invest and number go up. And that's, I think, like, just put the money in, do no work, number go up, am rich.
Well, yeah, there's certainly an amount of that. There's certainly people who are just putting all their dosh into crypto and expecting to be a millionaire in 6 months, which it's not going to work. It's never worked. Even in crypto, that has never worked. At the very least, you had to be in for a few years and get through a bubble cycle or two kind of make some good gains.
I'm pretty sure this time last year I had people asking me about Dogecoin and how to get in because they were going to get rich from it. And I advised against it and they still went in.
And then now it's down like 80%, just like everything else. So you can't save them, mate. You can't save them. All right, crypto is dead again, according to the media, but it's not dead. But the next one, which I do want to talk about, is it's not dead, but I think it is changing, right? So on the next slide, I've got said BTC and ETH dominance hasn't recovered. So I'm super interested in these charts because as much as everyone can say, okay, crypto is manipulated, fiat is manipulated, etc., 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 the actual spread of what cryptos are bigger or smaller proportionally to each other certainly does kind of even things out a bit because everything is affected to some degree in the same way by these macro moves, right? So at the moment, Bitcoin BTC is just barely more than 43% of the crypto markets, which is not all-time lows, which was like 33%, but it's quite low. And typically when crypto goes into a bear market and everything collapses, more of the money flows from the smaller coins back into Bitcoin because it's perceived as the safe hedge. And at least in the past, maybe less now, but in the past, you couldn't trade a lot of the coins against fiat currencies or against stable coins either. So you would have to sell your ones into Bitcoin and then from Bitcoin into your US dollars or into your Australian dollars or into your bank account or whatever. So as a result, all that traffic flowing back through would kind of push up Bitcoin, and as the bear market got worse, Bitcoin would recover more and all the smaller projects would die off, right? But what we've seen is with each cycle, because Bitcoin has not expanded as a payment system, it hasn't gained any more sort of real world traction, just more speculation. The market and the investment and the innovation stuff has just started flowing around it. So now, even getting Bitcoin over 50%, again, we might see a huge crash from here, and suddenly everybody's going to pile back into Bitcoin, and that will save the day. But I don't think that's likely. I think we've already seen huge drawdowns, and this is prime time. This is when like the dominance did go up a bit. It went from 40% up to 48%, right? So it was starting that kind of move, but it died off, and now it's actually reversed. It's back to 43%. And interestingly, in the past, one of the classic beneficiaries of this has also been Ethereum, right? So Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was at those lows near 33 or in the 30s percentage, it was because Ethereum was at all-time highs in the crypto market. And then you get that dynamic of, is Ethereum going to flip in BTC? That starts up as the hype, but that's not happening this time either. Ethereum is barely over 14% because they've got their own problems. They've got their own scaling issues, their own fees. The merge has been delayed for the last 5 years. Everybody's kind of like, what are you guys doing? Proof of stake is sort of convincing to those who are already convinced, kind of thing. I don't know that it's really bringing in anybody new who was unconvinced before necessarily. There's so many more competitors to it than ever before. So really, it's just this story that, to me, the market is diversifying out. And if you just go on the next slide, Jett, I got the same chart, but as a stacked chart. So obviously all the percentages add up to 100, no matter what the breakdown is. And on this chart, you can really see how the white segment at the bottom, which is everything outside the top 10, has just been consistently just gaining ground. So that's not to say, of course, some coins have flourished and some have died in that bottom 90 or the rest of the market, but that percentage is growing and it's becoming more resilient in each bear market. And in a bear market now, the winners are, or at least proportionally, the rest of the market doesn't die off compared to BTC and ETH. And at the same time, in a bear market, stable coins tend to do well because everybody's trying to, or instead of rushing back into Bitcoin, which they used to do, now they rush into Tether or USDC. And so those ones spike up proportionally as part of the move. So I think we're just seeing it happen, that the crypto market has moved away from Bitcoin and also sort of from Ethereum. In the next cycle, I expect we'll see even weaker sort of consolidation from Bitcoin, BTC, and from Ethereum, because more and more and more connections are being made across the whole spread of projects, right? Bitcoin Cash, Avalanche, Solana. It doesn't really matter. Pick your coin. The point is, more and more people are working in those ecosystems that are basically split between a fiat and their sort of altcoin, such as it is, ecosystem, and are routing around BTC and Ethereum, and they're struggling to expand and capture any more market share. And those riddle projects are more resilient in a downturn. What do you think?
To be honest, I wasn't really listening a whole lot. I was just like looking at the chart. I think the XRP is really interesting. I feel like this tells a whole story about XRP along this chart, because it was 2021 that the SEC got involved, right? And then it just collapses into a dwindling nothing.
Yeah, I mean, this chart's a little bit hard because the way it works is that they always aggregate those others into the bottom 10, right? So Bitcoin Cash in the past was a top 10 coin, so it would have actually been shown as its own, but it doesn't show the top 10 at each individual time versus the rest. Once something falls out of the top 10, it becomes part of the rest, kind of thing. So it is a little bit confusing.
So is
in that
there
regard
a time, like I see the lines kind of match up, like right before January 2014, it kind of stack.
So this
on
was
top of
when
each
that
other
was
in
when
July.
just before, yeah. So this is when just for January 2014. That was right before Mount Gox blew up, right? So that was at the height of the 2013 bubble, and Bitcoin is at its near maximum dominance, right? Near 95%. And then from there, you then have a long grinding bear market where the rest of the market makes up some ground. And then you can see here this is in the middle of 2016, Ethereum really starts to make moves. And that's because the block size war is heating up, right? That's in full swing. So Ethereum starts kind of grabbing a share of the pie until things, kind of fall off a cliff a bunch there. And then in 2017, you get a bit of a bull market again, which is where BTC recovers some ground and Ethereum also shrinks. Again, that sort of flight to safety into Bitcoin. But then in the next cycle, you have even more of the sort of other section of the market exploding in that 2017 to 2021 window. And then obviously since 21, we've come into a bit of a bear market. And so Ethereum has held up better. Bitcoin has held up worse than ever, relatively. And stable coins are coming into the picture, as well as the rest of the market just holding up, right? So that's kind of been the story. And I just want to point this out to listeners. I think this is a big phase shift in this next, because the seeds that are getting sown today will be the fruits of tomorrow, right? So all of those small projects or smaller communities like the Bitcoin Cash community, which are working away, they're grinding away, et cetera, once things come back around to good, they're going to kick off. They're going to be whatever survives the wreckage is going to be ready to go. It's not like everybody gave up on all their projects like the 2017 ICOs or the 2013 gambling projects or whatever. Like there's enough things in the market that can survive through a cycle, and therefore will grow and become bigger and bigger competitors. And at some point we're going to see serious challenges for the top couple of spots, right? Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be more under pressure at the moment. Most of those largest projects are stable coins, basically, or exchange tokens. But some other genuine in quotation marks crypto projects like BCH or even like Avalanche or Solana or Cardano or something are eventually going to hit on enough momentum that they're going to start scrapping it out at the top of the leaderboard. At least that's how it feels like to me.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, does the yellow line in the timeline below the chart, does that indicate anything?
I guess I think this is just the Bitcoin dominance, I think. Because you can see it sort of collapsing and then recovering.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, that lines up. Yeah, okay. And the other question is, can you change the coins in the key?
Well, no, it's not on this graph. I don't know. Maybe there's another. This is from CoinMarketCap, but there's probably other places you can look it up and fiddle around with it and switch it on or off. Because it would be really interesting to see.
Yeah.
But like I said, they just give you the top 10, and then everything else goes into others.
Is XRP still top 10?
Yeah. Well, according to this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Apparently, it's 7th. So I don't know. We can look it up. Look it up and find out right now.
That's wild.
It is, it's 7th at 33 cents and 15 billion.
I don't see anyone
cap
on like Twitter. Like I remember I used to see so many XRP shills, right? XRP Army, and I don't see anyone in that group anymore.
I don't know. I think it just comes back to a lot of that whole how do you judge a crypto? Like, we use market cap, but it's such a dodgy metric. Maybe there's just only 1% circulating supply. Didn't that main guy hold a whole load of it? And so maybe there was only a few coins circulating around. So even after everybody dumped out, he still was able to prop up the price somehow.
Yeah, it was like, I think Ripple, the company, had the largest, because there was no mine to it, right? Like they just made it and then they gave it out.
Yeah.
And I remember back in like 2017, even people being like, don't use Ripple because they can dump on you, or don't use XRP because Ripple can dump on you.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much has changed in that time, but I imagine it's still the same.
Yeah. Well, they're still in there in the top 10. We definitely got some work to do to get back in there in the top 10. But I think those, just basically what I'm saying is, over the next couple of years, especially as this market grinds out, I think people should be paying attention to all the other projects. Like Monero has been doing really well recently. For instance, Litecoin made the first innovation in the history of their coin, basically by adding Mimblewimble or whatever it's called. So at least, things are kind of happening, right? I don't think that BTC and Ethereum can afford to sit around on their laurels anymore, because that's the fact of crypto. It's brutal free market, absolutely brutal. Yeah, there's not that much regulation going on. Yes, everybody's out for themselves. Yes, there's scams and people going bust and all this kind of stuff. If you can get DDoSed, you probably will. If your chain can get 51% attacked, or whatever, somebody's going to do it. There's enough money and there's enough players that any weakness does tend to get exploited. And if you're out of there, if you lose the faith of the crowd, all your investors just ditch out of there because there's a million other options. So truly is a brutal only the fittest survive. That much is for sure, which is another reason that I highly prioritize the fact that BCH is very resilient. I think that's super important, but obviously a lot of other people value hype more than that. But as time goes on, that slow progress going to start snowballing, as we saw with the listeners to the podcast, I think. So expecting good things there. But and just, you've seen even, but this is not a unique theory to me, though. I mean, maybe in my embracing it is, but I've definitely seen commentary by especially the BTC people, like, why aren't all these other coins dying? Like, they're feeling the pain of their number go up story evaporating and the price going down, and they were rich and now they're, have fun staying poor themselves, and they're expecting everybody else to be crying out in even more pain and, haha, at least we told you so, stupid shitcoiners. But that hasn't happened. Bitcoin has dropped and everything else has dropped, but maybe it hasn't even dropped as much, or maybe it's just dropped the same amount roughly, and those projects are still there and still going. And that just puts the biggest bone in their jaw. It's amazing. Biggest, like, what's that phrase? There's a phrase for that, biggest toothpick or whatever. Anyway, that's enough about that. What do we got? What's next? This is okay. So here's
this, I thought was really exciting when I saw this.
This is super interesting. So the title is BCH is dominating on SideShift. So SideShift is a website where you can go on and you can send in a crypto. It's basically a crypto to crypto exchange. But unlike Coinbase, or it doesn't have all these like rules and regulation, because there is no fiat component. It's very low friction. You don't need an account. You don't need anything. You just send in the crypto, and then once it's confirmed, because crypto is like that, once it's sent. By and large, then they just send you out the other crypto, and they don't, as long as you give them an address that you are going to send to and an address that you're going to get your other funds back on the other blockchain, it can just all work seamlessly, right? So it's called SideShift. It's actually really cool. I've tried it a couple of times. I think the fees are a little bit high, but it's a cool idea anyway. And I recommend people give it a go with a small amount to sort of see what does a crypto economy look like. It's a classic example of how things operate if you just clear out all the fiat bullshit and regulation and whatever, you just let it run in crypto land, and it works super smooth, super nice actually. But they, which I didn't know, these companies, SideShift, they publish a weekly report of what has been going on their site, who has been swapping what coins for what coins. So I'm going to read a section from their latest one, which was 14th to 20th of June. Quote, BTC deposits were in full charge this week, representing a huge 45% or 3.46 million of weekly deposit volume. Bitcoin also proved to be the most sought after settle coin, accounting for 27%, 2.03 million of settle volume, and edging out BCH 24% for first place. These deposits and settle totals are the highest volumes observed in the past 5 weeks for a single coin. From this deposited BTC, 49% or 1.7 million was shifted to BCH, which has now remained our most popular pair for the 8th consecutive week. An additional 34% of BTC deposits were shifted to USDT and USDC on the Ethereum network, end quote. So what that is saying is kind of, as I was talking about before, 45% of all the money being sent in was sent in for, it was in BTC. And also it was the number one coin that people wanted to get back was also BTC, but at 27%. So people are sending in 45%, but they're only getting BTC back 27%. So this is playing into that theory of Bitcoin, even in a bull market, we should be seeing the opposite. We should see 20% of people sending in Bitcoin and 45% of people wanting Bitcoin back from their other coins, but it's flipped. It's actually more people are getting rid of their Bitcoin than wanting to receive it in crypto to crypto trades. But even still, it was still the number one most demanded. But the second is not Ethereum, it's not Binance Smart Chain, it's not Dogecoin, or it's not whatever, any of these coins that are higher. It's actually BCH is the second most demanded coin that people want back out of their shapeshift. And critically, so we said BTC was the most deposited, but it was the most deposited, and half of those deposits were going to BCH, right? Half of what they were putting in was people wanted BCH back, which has been apparently the most popular trade on their website. You can trade, I don't know, however many coins, like 30 coins or 50 coins against in any combo. So it's a huge, 50 times, it's a huge amount of different combos. But BTC depositing BTC and settling in BCH has been the most popular pair for 8 straight weeks, apparently, which is absolutely nuts, because obviously that's a very unique pair, right? Where it is 1-to-1. There's only 21 million BTC and 21 million BCH. There was the whole dynamics with the fork, and there's the shared miners and everything. And the reality is, if there's a short squeeze of BCH, the BTC people, not everyone can get out. They just can't. On any other coin, you could sort of dump it all the way down to zero, but that's not that's not the case with BTC and BCH. So this is fascinating, and the BCH ratio is close to the lows, right? It's basically at an all-time low, but at the same time, if loads of people are switching from BTC into BCH, it's almost like the bathtub, plug has been opened, and the first little bit of water is starting to escape out of there. The first people are starting to think, I need to get out of this coin, or at least hedge my bets. So the most popular deposits are USDT, BTC, and ETH. So the biggest coins are the ones people send in the most, but the ones they get out the most are USDT, BTC, and BCH. So apparently people don't want ETH out of their side shifts. They'd rather have BCH. And so further to add context to this, they had their most popular integrations, because obviously this service can be built into different wallets. Number 2 is the Bitcoin.com wallet, which goes some way to explaining these stats, because people using the Bitcoin.com wallet would on average be more interested in trading BTC and BCH and swapping them back and forth, specifically into BCH to spend it. But the number one integration is actually Trezor, who are a hardware wallet provider. So it's not guaranteed that this is exactly what's going on, but there's sort of circumstantial evidence that maybe some people in the BTC community are thinking, you know what, let me just take 1% or 2% of my cold storage stash and flip it into BCH. The ratio is amazingly good. My downside is limited. And in the case of a flippening or a sudden reversal, I'm still sitting pretty. I'm not going to be the last one left, when the music stops. So that's just my take. What did you make of this?
I feel like these are amounts of money where it's like, well, okay, so here's a question. Do you think that all these shifts, like especially the three in the row there that are all 1.95, 1.97, do you think that's all the same person? Or do you think?
Well, these shifts is obviously just a tiny fraction of what's going on. I just have a screenshot because I happened to look at SideShift and they show their most recent shift. So I had a look at it one day and there was somebody shifted 1.9 BTC into about 350 BCH. And there was about 3 of those in a row. And I can believe that it's the same person, right? There's somebody here who had, nearly 6 Bitcoin. They had whatever, 150 grand. And they thought of their stash, right? Which is, maybe they've got 100 Bitcoin, right? And they thought, look, let me just take 5 and flip it into BCH, get out my, massively increased loot, my 1,000 BCH or whatever. And just maybe somebody just saw they just can see the cracks starting to appear, right?
Yeah, and it seems pretty simple if you think about like the upside. Oh, okay, like the chance of BCH going that much lower is like without a quick recovery, I think at this point is pretty low. I can triple my coin volume or whatever, like even at this super low percentage. Like let's say he does only hold 100 BTC, right? And then he takes 6 BCH or 6 BTC, throws it into 1,000 BCH. Like that's like that. Yeah, it seems like very simple. Like if I were in his position, taking a look at things, I'd be like, oh, okay, because I can use this one too. And take a holiday in St. Kitts or something. Like, what if it's just someone's vacation fund? Like, even then, that'd be sick. I have no idea what the hell's going on, but it seems like a simple choice to me. Obviously biased, but
is this? And I mean, this is just sort of this one example, but I think it just amazes me that BTC into BCH is the most popular bit, the number one. How it's not like it could be BTC to ETH, it could be ETH to BTC, it could be BTC to USDT, it could be USDT to ETH, it could be any of those bigger. It could be one of the Binance coins, which supposedly have so much activity or so much ranking. But the thing about SideShift is that it's crypto to crypto and it's all non-custodial as well. So it's like the actual people using crypto. It is speculating. Obviously, it's swapping coins for coins, but it's not on a centralized exchange. And that seems to impact the user base, right? Monero is very heavily represented when you look on SideShift stuff. BCH is very well represented. A lot of the other stuff, Cardano, almost nowhere. Solana, kind of pretty fringe. AVAX, a bit more fringe as well too. But BTC, BCH, Ethereum, Monero, Litecoin, even some of the time, Dogecoin, some of the time, the actual tradable, mostly proof of work networks are the ones that people use on this kind of service, right?
Yeah. I think, well, knowing also that Andreas runs it, like I think he's been in the space forever. Most of the people using the service, I expect, are probably people that have been in the space for, since at least 2017.
Yeah, true. Andreas Branken, who's the CEO. I don't know anything more about him. I just
he runs shitcoin.com. He He's a big fan of not taking himself seriously. And he seems to be a phenomenal programmer too, from the interactions that I've had with him. So
there you go. Well, shout out to him, I guess. And yeah, I love that he's producing these SideShift reports. I'll be keeping an eye on this. We'll see going forward next week, the week after, the week after. How long can this streak go on? Eight weeks in a row, BTC into BCH. Because if that trend can't go on indefinitely, well, it can, but it has to. There's a point at which it just bottoms out the ratio, right? If it just keeps being people dumping BTC to BCH, that just eventually the ratio starts going back up. There's no other way around it. And because that's independent of the price crashing on one or both coins in fiat terms, it's got to bottom, because we're going to see a bottom. I don't know where it is. It could be 200 to 1. It could be 250 to 1. It could be 300 to 1. I don't know where it's going to be, but there is going to be a bottom. I'm going to be here for it. That's the best thing about it. And then once it starts going up, the narrative is broken, right? And it'll be a new era. But anyway, don't know. But we'll keep an eye on that story. Next thing, General Protocols have released Oracles.cash. So when I was saying where are the apps, I mean, shout out to General Protocols. They're getting it done, delivering results. So this is beautiful, immutable, verifiable price oracles. So what that means basically is something that apps can plug into and check the price of the US dollar, the yuan, the rupee, gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin were their initially supported assets, and you can guaranteed get a cryptographically signed read of what the price feed is to integrate into your app. So this is really important because it's the precursor to the AnyHedge stablecoin kind of contracts that we talked about on this show last week. We've talked about it a few times. It's been a long time in the making, but it seems like we're starting to get some actual delivery here, and that would be a huge boon if you can just swap decentralized, no counterparties into any of these assets, or you can lock your value $100 of BCH into the same ratio of Bitcoin or Ethereum or US dollars. That would be mega. That would be kind of interesting, actually, if people can hold BCH but lock it in the same ratio against BTC. Kind of an interesting concept, actually, especially with what we were just talking about with SideShift. So yeah, shout out to General Protocols. They're getting work done there. And yeah, I saw somebody made a comment like the price is dropping and every other crypto is sort of in disarray and complaining and whining. Well, the Bitcoin Cash community just still releasing tech, building utility. So you love to see it. Any thoughts on this one?
Did you ever use D token?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah. A couple times. Yeah.
Was like that the proof of concept, right? Because you wouldn't sell your BCH, but like, let's say you thought the price was going to go down, you could lock in that US value and either gain BCH, or if the price goes up, lose BCH. I mean,
yeah. So D token was that's right. So D token was a front end for the AnyHedge contracts, like the beta versions, I guess, of the AnyHedge contract. So this, I think the point was basically that in that original version, because they didn't have this, I think it was all kind of like being tested, and maybe it was just run internally in terms of having the Oracle and stuff. But now this is public. So now the theory is that they're eventually going to make the pieces that they General Protocols will be making sort of integrations in their own like wallets and stuff, I believe. But now that they're getting to the stage where they've checked that those pieces worked internally, they're starting to roll them out publicly so that then CoinFlex could also offer the same product by building their own integration or putting it in with their other stuff, or the Bitcoin.com wallet or the Paytaka wallet or any of these other maybe smart BCH based stuff could do something with this. I don't know, but I think that's the difference. I don't really know what happened with D token. I don't really know why they shut that down. I think that was developed by some partners, and maybe things didn't go well there from a commercial relationship point of view. So we'll wait and see what the upcoming front end releases look like. But at the very least, it's getting to the point where things are being released for public access. So
exciting.
Yeah, and another thing we'll be keeping an eye. I mean, just the final point on all this really is that this might sound like a bit of a nothing burger. Where's everybody celebrating and stuff? You've got a price Oracle, great, but the point is that give this another year or another 2 years, just like we've been saying for a year. Give it another little while, and then once you have all these pieces and you have the working products and everything like that, the ecosystem builds around it. And another coin that wants to copy any of this stuff is like years and years and years behind. Basically, the Bitcoin BTC community can't just tomorrow say, okay, now you guys have got this locked stable coins in your wallets or anything. They're 5 steps behind. They're behind on the wallet integration. They're behind on having the price oracle. They're behind on having the on-chain scripting capability. That and just all those things. It's just edging further and further and further in front to something that when people say, oh, but can't BTC just raise the block size? That's not going to be enough. Well, they're not going to do it in the first place. But even if they did, that's like step 1 of 5 or 10. And as the BCH community keeps just building ahead, it becomes more and more obvious for people to defect on SideShift instead of while we've got the momentum rolling, while you're just getting, it's like the hare and the tortoise, you're just getting further and further ahead while they're asleep. So that's kind of the way the ecosystem operates. So anyway, good work. We want to see, that's a good, nice positive release. Okay, community comment of the week. This one's a funny one. This one comes from Apexio, who is the only person to have commented on Chartable, which is a website that tracks podcast stats. And I looked at it for the first time in forever, maybe the first time ever. And the Bitcoin Cash podcast has exactly one comment from Apexio, who said they gave us a 3-star rating and said, episodes are way too long. Edit these down to 20 minutes each. And to that, the answer is no. We're not going to do that. So tough luck. Find another podcast. And if you don't like long podcasts, I think you just don't like podcasts, because that's kind of the beauty of the format, right? That you can get in the weeds, right? It's not like if you want a CNBC segment, there's CNBC, and they'll tell you that inflation is Putin's fault.
We also just did a 3-hour episode, and people were like, "Go for longer." Like,
people loved it, yeah.
20
Shout out to
minutes
Josh
each.
Ellsthorpe. I think he carried a lot of that episode, though. People really liked getting his insights and opinions, and we had a lot of quality topics. I mean, we're not going to just ramble on forever if we don't. I'm not going to pad out this show with random bullshit either. But on the other hand, it's the show started out being more like 90 minutes, and it's now closer on average to 2 hours, the 2.5 hour range. And it went up to 3 for good topics. So maybe as the scene grows and there's more to talk about and whatever, maybe it will just get longer. I don't know. But it will be the length of
do a 24/7 radio station. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get there eventually. I don't know. One step at a time. But I mean, I do take the point that there could be, and I have, like, Satoshi's Angels does those weekly updates where it says, okay, look, here's 5 things that happened in BCH this week, and you can just scan it in 20 seconds. Or I could see a version of Pomp does his daily 5-minute update or whatever on crypto. I could see a Bitcoin Cash. Well, we have BCH clips, but that's kind of a different thing. I don't know. I could see a version of Jeremy's 10-minute thoughts before breakfast, but it probably needs to get to the point where I'm able to work on this podcast full time before I'm able to do that. So it is how it is. If you want this 20-minute edited episode, do it yourself, mate, because all the podcasts are there. So why don't you start that service? You have my permission. All right. Meme of the week comes from last week it was Bitcoin Jason. This week it's Bitcoin Jason's daughter who saw that he was on /r/BTC, the infamous BCH Reddit section, and drew him the Bitcoin wizard. So I just thought this was super cute. And for anybody who goes on RBTC, you'll see there is this poorly drawn paint wizard that says "Join us" and "Magic Internet Money" on it. And this is just an all-time classic of Bitcoin history, which was drawn in like 2013, I think, or early 2014. And it said, it was just the Magic Internet Money Bitcoin wizard, and somebody drew it and put it on. Somehow or another it got like posted in there, and somebody thought this is hilarious, and they put it as the sidebar image, and then everybody loved it. Everybody instantly was like, "This is the best." And so then I think some people paid to run it as an ad on Reddit, and just people started flooding into our Bitcoin. This is when our Bitcoin was small, right? 50,000 subs or something like that. And this was just the magic formula of that perfect level of internet humor, or just it's kind of quirky, but also kind of engaging, or just some guy drew it on his paint, and that's what made it so authentic. So anyway, people started flooding in, and then I think they took some donations to run more ads, which Thamos took, and he then scammed from the community, at least as far as I can remember. So pretty typical scam happening there. But anyway, our BTC did not have the wizard. So about a few months ago, I actually asked the mods a couple times, "Hey, can we put the wizard back in there?" And anyway, it's back in there now. And now our Bitcoin doesn't have it. So we've got the wizard and they don't have the wizard. And I think that's important, because it means when Bitcoin OGs start thinking, "Wait, is Bitcoin Cash still alive? What's going on there?" If they see that on the subreddit, they'll know this is it's signaling, right? So it's very important that we have that wizard. And obviously, Bitcoin Jason's daughter was also getting a bit inspired, because she drew a nice line art of it as well too. So really cute there. She got chain tipped a bunch as well too. People sent us some BCH, so that's also good to see. Yeah, it's pretty amazing the world we live in now. Sending money over the internet. Who would have thought? And message to the community. Do you have a message to the community, mate? Don't give me that no. You got what do people need to hear? Tell a story, or tell what's going on with you these days.
Man, not a whole lot. I'm excited for the Bitcoin Cash conference. I think everyone needs to simmer down. Like the market's bad, but like, I don't know. I feel like since I was on the pod, like even before the podcast, like if anyone had followed my tweets, they'd known that like I'm not interested in a whole lot of market talk, especially people that are like, "Oh, all my money's gone. I need this money immediately." Like people have been saying, don't put in more than you can afford to lose. So shut up and listen next time, maybe. And quit your bitching. Like, enjoy the ride. If you have any kind of like faith or commitment, you don't even need the faith to the coin, or not even the coin, but like to other people. If you think you're working towards something that's good, then what is there to worry about? Keep working on it and you're good to go. Like I don't feel any kind of pressure about this market downturn. So it's disappointing that all of the crypto chats are completely overtaken by it right now. We're going to have fun come November. So like, just wait it out. I'll see you then.
Yeah, that's it. I got to echo that. I'm really, really, really looking forward to this conference. I think it's going to be amazing to get a bunch of people together in the same place. And I think if it is as good as it purports to be, that on the ground in St. Martin they have a bunch of local vendors accepting it and something, I can really see that there's the huge potential to have a very special moment there where that local community, which has had evangelists there, they've been saying, "Look, here's Bitcoin Cash, here's the stickers, here's how it works." They've been showing people, they've been getting it in the sort of zeitgeist of the local population, and there's a bit of trading going on, and people are thinking, okay, this is kind of cool, but we got that running. And then if you just inject a huge like tourism boost where a whole bunch of people come there, that does two things. Firstly, it will make the locals super hyped if they see, wow, suddenly our business just exploded. All these people came here for this because we were the place in the world doing it. And then that introduces all those coins that will then circulate in the local economy, right? Because then all those places getting paid will realize, oh, but then we can pay our mate in BCA, and that's how it starts. But it will also have the same effect from the tourism perspective, that if it is super awesome and cool, everybody that goes there will be like, this was amazing, and they'll redouble their efforts on whatever they were hustling away on. They'll go back home to their country and people say, what were you doing on holiday? You said, I went to this island and just everybody there transacted Bitcoin Cash. I didn't use fiat currency at all. Crypto is happening. It's for real. And you'll get, of course, the social media echo of just suddenly everybody posting like, wow, it's kicking off, because that's what we've been wanting to see. And I called it out when it happened at the 2021 and 2022 the BTC conference in Miami. There wasn't all that much people trading Bitcoin. It was like the people were posting, the vendors don't accept Bitcoin, and people were yammering on about the Lightning Network, when it wasn't like, are people just using it? Is it just becoming a fact of life? And the answer seemed to be, yeah, it's not really happening. It's like Cash App being the sponsor was the proof in the pudding, right? Why do you need a transfer payments? If it had been a Bitcoin wallet sponsoring it, maybe, but it was like a payment solution was sponsoring the conference for a payment solution. That doesn't even make any sense. So yeah, I'm super hyped. Really, really looking forward to that. And yeah, we're gonna be trying to get some streams and some content going from there too,
yeah,
so that anybody who can't go can get involved for sure. Yeah,
I want to try and record as much of it as I can, just for my own use. Like, I'm not on any social media anymore, but I'm sure I can like convince a friend to post it and tag some local MPs and be like, look at, what someone from St. John is doing in this area. Like, why can't we have that here? We're a port city. We have massive cruise ships come in like for 4 months of the year. If those tourists can use a currency that doesn't consider the nationality, then that would be fantastic for us.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be up to us to prove that Bitcoin Cash is alive and well. And I don't know, seems like the groundwork there. I'm mega excited. Let's see, it's now June, July, August, September, October, November. So yeah, it's under 6 months till then. So just gotta hold on. And just because it's been so long since everybody has done stuff in person too, travel has been off the agenda for loads of people. There's been hassle, I know people are traveling around and doing that sort of stuff now, but I haven't really gone anywhere. So I'm looking forward to it from that point of view. It'll be near the end of the year, so everybody can be taking a break, winding down, kind of heading into Christmas. It sounds amazing. So yeah, we're looking forward to that, and hopefully everybody can. Big shout out to the website as well. Up here. Mark Falzoni recently released the website for it. I'm just trying to pull it up here. What is it called? It was called Peer X Peer, I think, or something.
I didn't even know the website
people
was
look
released.
up. Dude, have a look at this. It's called PXP. So Peer, PEER, X.
Post it in the Twitch
Peer.
chat.
Yeah. peerxpeer.com. Like peer to peer, but with an X instead of the 2. Have a look at that. Mark Falzon. You can buy your tickets there. He's got some information about how it all works. Saint Martin, how to get accommodation, what to do, etc.
Dude,
take a look at that.
It's
a slick looking website.
I'll tell you this after the stream, but if I manage to get to this, we're gonna have a blast.
Yeah. We're gonna make it happen, dude. I'm looking forward to it. All right, cool. Well, that's it for message to the community. Get fired up about the end of the year, and if you've got the faith, just keep grinding, keep working on your project, because it's all gonna come good. The podcast is growing fast, so if you're not convinced that BCH is going to be here, well, just go on bitcoincashpodcast.com, bitcoin.com/stats. You can see the podcast is popping off. So clearly somebody's enjoying this show. All right. Thank you to all the donators, as always. Also, yeah, check out the Odyssey, Rumble, BitChute, all these other platforms. Just want to have a backup in case YouTube ever gets salty and bans us for some reason. Definitely want to spread out the risk there as well. Thanks to my patron, Ricky, and yeah, shout outs for the show. Do you have a shout out you want to give?
I don't think so this week.
All right, not this week. And my shout out goes to Ryan Giffen and also to Fiendish Crypto for hyping things up to get us over the line on 1,000 subs. That was absolutely amazing. And there's nothing like heartfelt sort of word of mouth to really help something go viral. I mean, obviously, if we're out there promoting the show, it's like we're just bigging up ourselves and people can kind of sense that, right? So having that validation from the community that everybody's been enjoying the show and listening along and really getting some value out of it has just been amazing. So that'll do it for today. Until next time.
The greatest story the world has ever known. The rise and rise of Bitcoin. 2022.
A single chance for the world, a single moment in time. Bankers captures all, our cryptocurrency flies. Gets to decide, Phoenix fly from the flame. Bitcoin BCH, forever changing the game.
An underdog story everyone trying to deny. Bitcoin revolution, crypto trade on the rise. Then they stole our brand name and tried to push us aside. Cause they said it was over, that we'd never survive. Maybe there was a world that was the end of the ride. But this kind of hero's journey is refusing to die. So we picked up the shovels and headed back to the mine. Started over from scratch, finding fresh dynamite. Flipping over the board, drew up fresh battle lines. Set the difficulty right and forked a couple more times. Budgets got slashed with prices on the decline. While the faithless gave up, but the project survived. An unstoppable will kept the blockchain alive. And community grit simply arrested the slide. Suffered plenty of hate from doubters on the sidelines. Drew on passionate drive where strength comes from inside. So this is your notice, written down in these rhymes. You can stick with your bank, or you can move with the times. Join us now or later on, cause I really don't mind. If you can't see it happening, must be myopically blind. If fake money melts, that's infinite supply. So we're going to rule, that's cryptographically signed. Fuck your institution banks, we'll fund it all on our dime. It's not a matter of price, it's just a matter of